Hello and welcome back. This is part two of premarital counseling. We stopped at the family economy. How do we manage our family resources? Who brings in the money? How do we spend it? We find out that sometimes the man works and the woman stays at home. At other times, the woman works and the man has no job. How do we make up for this? How do we help each other? There's nothing wrong if the woman is a breadwinner of the family. There's nothing wrong if you're getting married to a woman who earns more than you, or if you're getting married to a man who earns more than you, or getting married to a man who actually has no job but has businesses that he does, could be on a small scale. The important thing is that he has to have a means of livelihood. Coming together, the Bible says Adam and Eve were naked and they were not ashamed. So we have to learn to cover each other in love. Certainly, something must make you marry somebody. Is it that she's very beautiful and you just can't get your eyes off her? Or he's very wealthy and you want somebody to take care of you financially? But I like to put this caveat that it's better we start small because the Bible says, do not despise the days of little beginnings. Starting small doesn't mean you will end up small. It just means that, as the Bible has said, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing, and the Lord grants him favor, obtained favor of the Lord. So, what I tell young women, young ladies preparing for marriages, tell God that you are a good thing, so that when your man finds you, he will obtain favor of the Lord. That is why genuineness in Christianity is important. You can't bring bitter water and sweet water from the same source. So you cannot be living, calling yourself a Christian and living like a non-Christian and then expect to obtain favor from the Lord. No, it doesn't work that way. You must choose whom you would serve. Now we'll talk about family planning. What is family planning? Family planning is neither not having children or having too many children. Family planning, as the name implies, is planning your family. How many children do we want to have? How do we want to space them? If they are all boys, if they are all girls, if we must have a male child or must have female children, that is family planning. And there are different ways of planning your family. The first and most important one is the natural family planning. Natural family planning helps us to realize that our bodies, especially the female bodies are like a clock. You have 12 o'clock, you have midnight, you have noon, you have different times. You have 8 a.m. when you must go to work, you have 5 p.m. when you must close. Also, in a woman's body, you have the clock that tells you you are very fertile now, you are not too fertile, you can't even become pregnant now, and for now, you can't even have sex. Do you understand? So if you understand these different clocks in your body, this different time that your body clock is telling you, beautiful. You can plan the way you have your children naturally. You can even plan when to have your male child, when to have your female child, and how long you want each child to be, to the spacing, the child spacing, how long, how much space you want. Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? You can plan all these things naturally without chemicalizing your system and poisoning your system. Then we have the artificial family planning. Artificial family planning are when you make use of drugs, barriers like condoms, and all that. Those ones, they have their negative implications and complications. Some of them even lead to death, bleeding, and all that, cancer, and all that. So I always advocate for natural family planning. We talk about parenting and child nurture. In your premarital relationship, you need to understand, what kind of person am I? Am I a disciplinarian by nature? Am I strict? Or am I a kind of person that does not even have the strength to discipline a child? And then two of you come together to say, you know what? When these children start coming and there's a big problem, you handle it, okay? And then I will just watch by the side. And then you have to agree. Say things like, when I'm beating the child up, beating the child up doesn't mean you're going to kill the child. And the rod must not necessarily be a cane. It can be with words, it can be with actions. Parenting is a whole skill on its own. So I may have to address parenting some other time. But during your premarital sessions, during your premarital life, you need to talk about, how do we discipline our children? How do we discipline our children? There are so many ways of disciplining a child. Just telling a child, sit down for the next 10 minutes is worse than caning the child. Tell a child, no ice cream for you for this whole week. And mommy, I'm sorry. Daddy, I'm sorry. But never try to discipline a child with anger. If you show anger, your child will only see resentment and not correction. That's not necessary. So you need to know these things. There's so many issues about work when it comes to marriage. There has to be the family work balance. Who is working more amongst the two of you? Is it the woman? Is it the man? How do we want the work to continue when we get married? What time do you close from work? How early can you be back home? Do you want people living in with you? Do you want your in laws living with you? Do you want a house help, a domestic staff taking care of your children? What quality of persons do you want in your home? Such that when you balance your work and your family, you have to be available to raise the kids into what you want them to become. Because part of the problem we have nowadays is that parents are not available to pass into the children the life skills that they have. Behavior, character, usually are supposed to be passed from parents onto their children. But when you are not there, it's a problem. So you have issues where the husband to be says, my wife, I wouldn't like you to work when we start having children. I will try to provide for the family. And some woman will say, no, 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 I must work because I cannot be demanding 10 naira, 20 naira, 100 naira, or millions from you. But if you communicate properly, we'll be able to help sort out this kind of problems. Certainly, you may not be able to do it alone. So you will need the help of a counselor to support you and help you to take decisions. What we're trying to do is to have a standard operating procedure for our family. It's like bringing out the terms and reference for this family. And only premarital discussions can help you. Because once you get into the marriage, things will look so frustrating. This was not what I was expecting. I thought he would allow me do this. I thought she would do this. I thought that if you didn't discuss it, you have no right to think it. You need to discuss it. We also talk about stress management in marriage. When you are so stressed at work, you come back home. Are you supposed to pour it on your wife? Once again, communication. How has your day been? What happened at work? Oh, I was so offended today. My boss did this, my boss did that. Then the other person is supposed to say, oh, calm down, you are home now, okay? Let's enjoy ourselves together. And then you find out that that stress from work will naturally reduce. Then we'll talk about family quality time at home. Quality time where you actually create time for your family. You need to agree. Before marriage, sure, you do so many things. You hang out with your friends, you spend 24 hours in the church, or whatever you do. But as soon as you get married, you need to rearrange your schedule so that you have enough time to spend quality time with your family. Holidays, family recreations. You can plan to go on holidays, vacations, how to celebrate your birthdays, wedding anniversaries, Another things, another very important issue we talk about in marriage, in premarital counseling, is the legal issues in marriage, civil law, traditional marriage, the will making, the next of kin issues, inheritance, and child adoption. You can imagine that when you get married or before marriage, certainly you'll be filling some forms. You have somebody you have as your next of kin. Sometimes it's your mother, your brother, your sister. But when you get married, these things have to be brought to the table. You are my next of kin, okay? I'm your next of kin. I've met young men who say, no, my wife can never be my next of kin. Why? Because if I die tomorrow, she takes my money and goes to marry another man with it. That's the sense, that's in a sense coming from someone that's very insecure. The Bible says if you don't love her, don't marry her. That's exactly what we need to understand when it comes to the legal issues in marriage. Write your will. Even if it's just this golden ring you have, make a will. Whose does it become when you are dead? If you don't want your wife to be your inheritor of your property, it could be your children. But we need to clarify all these things. I actually witnessed a premarital session where a man refused to continue with the marriage because of the legal issues in it. He said he doesn't want his wife to inherit anything, that he wants his brothers to inherit what he has so that the brothers will be the one to take care of his wife and children. But how does that sound? We need to talk about all that. We talk about things like family mental health, because I've actually seen young people becoming so stressed out, so traumatized by their marriage that mentally their health begin to fail. They start suffering from crisis, anxiety because of stress related marital issues, sexual abuse, domestic violence. These are crisis situations that we need to talk about, and you need to see a counselor to help you. We also talk about understanding one spouse. What do you understand about personality? What is the personality of your spouse to be? What are his temperaments? How does he react? These things we talk about them under the psychology of marriage, personality types. Because if you don't understand that my wife doesn't like being made fun of, she's not an extrovert. So you don't take her out to your family and start making fun of her. She'll get so embarrassed, and when she comes back home, there will be a fight. These are the things we need to talk about. And then finally, before you tie the knots, you need to be able to have what is called individual couple counseling. You go to see your counselor. You talk about issues in the presence of the counselor who will help facilitate understanding. In the course of that, you also have your individual counseling with the counselor, and then you come back again together to resolve issues so that when you enter into marriage, there will be less stressful situations in your home. Thanks for staying on with this video up till now. It means that you have been touched by what you've heard. If you need further information on premarital counseling, please find my contact in the description below. Thank you.